Forth in glorious day, far from the grave he rose. Casey at the Bat by Ernest Lawrence there. The outlook wasn't brilliant for the Mudville 9 that day. The score stood 4-2 with but one inning more to play. And so, when Cooney died at first and Burroughs did the same, a sickly silence fell upon the patrons of the game. A straggling few got up to go in deep despair. The rest clung to the hope which springs eternal in the human breast. They thought if only Casey could get but a whack at that, they'd put up even money now with Casey at the bat. But Flynn preceded Casey, as did also Jimmy Blake. And the former was a pudding, and the latter was a fake. So upon that stricken multitude, grim melancholy sat, for there seemed but little chance of Casey's getting to the bat. But Flynn would drive a single to the wonderment of all, and Blake, the much despised, tore the cover off the ball, and when the dust had lifted and they saw what had occurred, it was Jimmy safe on second and Flynn a hugging third. Then from the glad multitude went up a joyous yell. It bounded from the mountaintops and rattled in the dell. It struck upon the hillside and recoiled upon the flat. For Casey, mighty Casey, was advancing to the bat. There was ease in Casey's manner as he stepped into his place, pride in Casey's bearing, a smile in Casey's face. And when responding to the cheers, he lightly doffed his hat. No stranger in the crowd could doubt 'twas Casey at the bat. 10,000 eyes were on him as he rubbed his hands with dirt. 5,000 tongues applauded as he wiped them on his shirt. And while the writhing pitcher found the ball into his hip, defiance gleamed in Casey's eyes. A sneer curled Casey's lip. And now the leather-covered sphere came hurtling through the air. And Casey stood a-watching it in haughty grandeur there, 'cause by the sturdy batsman the ball unheeded sped. "That ain't my style," said Casey. "Strike one," the umpire said. Then from the benches black with people, there went up a muffled roar, like the beating of the storm waves, stern and distant shore. "Kill him! Kill the umpire!" shouted someone on the stand. And it's likely they'd have killed him. And Casey raised his hand. With a smile of Christian charity, great Casey's visage shone. He stilled the rising tumult. He bade the game go on. He signaled to the pitcher. Once more the spheroid flew. But Casey still ignored it. The umpire said, "Strike two!" "Broad!" cried the man thousands. The echo answered, "Broad!" But a scornful look from Casey, Yance, was odd. They saw his face grow stern and cold. They saw his muscles strain. And they knew that Casey wouldn't let the ball go by again. The sneer is gone from Casey's lips. His teeth are clenched in hate. He pounds with violence, his bat upon the plate. And now the pitcher holds the ball, and now lets it go. Now the air is shattered by the force of Casey's blow. Oh, somewhere in this favored land the sun is shining bright. The band is playing somewhere. Somewhere hearts are light. And somewhere men are laughing, and somewhere children shout. But there is no joy in Mudville. Mighty Casey has struck out.
In Vinegar Boy by Alberta Haas, a baby boy lies abandoned on a hillside. However, he is rescued by Nicholas, a Roman soldier who raises him as his own. Sadly, a noticeable red birthmark disfigures his face, and he's longed to meet Jesus and be freed of this birthmark. Later, the young lad has been tasked with bringing vinegar to those being crucified by the Romans. Thus he is named the Vinegar Boy. His hopes are lifted and dashed repeatedly when Jesus is crucified, risen, and ascended, all without being healed by the Messiah. Vinegar Boy regains hope when he hears that Jesus' disciples perform miracles as well. The Vinegar Boy by Alberta Haas. Vinegar Boy pushed himself out of his father's arm and turned toward Mark with excitement. John, the fisherman, was in Jerusalem. John and his friend Peter were doing miracles. Now he would get his face fixed. Jesus had not stayed long enough to do it, but John would do it. Are they really doing miracles? Mark laughed. Cross my heart. I saw him do it just a little while ago at the temple near the Gate Beautiful. Nicholas' big hand closed gently on the Vinegar Boy's arm. Listen, son, Mark has told me that the lame man who's always begging at the gates is walking now. Peter and John were there. Father, you really believe they could do miracles just like Jesus? Nicholas nodded. And you think that there's a miracle waiting for my son? Of course, there's nothing impossible with God. Do you really believe that they could get rid of my birthmark? That shouldn't be half as hard as giving a beggar a set of good legs. Mark laughed. As they started to descend, they wondered how they would ever find Peter and John in the crowd. Vinegar Boy stopped suddenly and turned toward Mark. Well, do you think we could find Marconius the centurion? If I get a miracle, well, I want him to be there too. I will find Marconius for you, Mark said. The boy saw the fisherman's head swing up. His eyes. Mark had reached on, and the boy saw the fisherman's head swing up. His eyes turned toward the stairs. Then his hand lifted. The boy's heart leaped, and he began to wave violently. The boy waited on the second step, his heart pounding as John reached out a hand to him. Then John spoke. How are you, boy? Fine, sir. This is Nicholas, my father. He spoke with pride, and Nicholas smiled. He's my legal son now. His name is John, son of Nicholas. I know. The fisherman was pleased. Mark told me. Vinegar Boy looked at John with serious eyes. I hope you don't mind. Well, I want to be like him and you. Well, I'm flattered that you want to be like me. But frankly, I would give all that I have to have a heart as pure as yours. He's always been a good boy, Nicholas said. But goodness isn't enough, is it? Nicodemus had said something to Nicholas about nobody being good enough. Only Jesus could give them. You must believe that he has come to save you, John said softly. We do, don't we, Father? Nicholas nodded. Somebody wants you, Mark said, pointing to the top of the stairs. Marconius is there. Mark had found him. The boys could see the soldier and his friend, and it looked as if they were on the hill again, with the cross of Jesus behind them. He could hear Mark shouting, This is Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews! And again, he could see Marconius taking off his helmet and kneeling as he wept. Only this was Son of God. All of it, the whole awful day, went before his eyes, and he saw himself standing at the foot of the cross where Jesus was dying. Jesus, Lord, King! He heard again the crackling lightning as he clung to the cross, begging in his heart for a miracle. Now, Lord, please. The boy shivered with joy. All of his friends were here. Marconius and Mark and John and dear, dear Nicholas, his father. The boy turned. He expected John to lay a hand upon his cheek, to say something. But John didn't move. He didn't speak. The boy saw that the fisherman couldn't speak because his blue eyes brimmed with tears. Nicholas thrust out his hand in the expression of joy. Then leaning over, he began to weep. Mark had reached Nicholas first and threw his arm around his heavy shoulder. I told you he could do it. I told you. Marconius came near. He's done it, boy. He's done it. Marconius, is it really gone? The centurion's voice broke. It's gone, boy. Completely gone. The boy turned. John laid a hand upon the unblemished cheek softly. I had thought the gift might be through me, but frankly, but God has his own mysterious ways of doing things. The vinegar boy threw his arms about the fisherman. I will love you nonetheless. No, thank you for me. Will you but tell him I wish he would have left just a little bit of it. Why? Mark turned, surprised eye on him. Vinegar boy laughed, joy sparkling across his fair cheeks. Because it would help us all to remember that nothing is impossible with God.
A Triune Tale of Diminutive Swine by John Branyan. William Shakespeare had an active vocabulary of 54,000 words. We have an active vocabulary of only 3,000 words. We would be lost in the 16th century children's library trying to read The Three Little Pigs. 'Twas not a long time past when there lived pigs, in stature little, and number 3, who now, being of an age both entitled and inspired to seek their fortunes, did set out to do so thusly. When they had come a distance, the pig numbered first spake, saying, Hearken, brethren, and heed this tempestuous realm. Should we tarry long, separated from hearth and home, we shall fare, I fear, not well. And so, being collectively agreed but individually impelled, the diminutive swine set out about each to build for himself an abode. The pig numbered first did from straw construct his home. The pig numbered 2 did likewise, though rather not from straw, but from sticks. Meanwhile, unique in his imaginings, the pig numbered 3 did erect as his refuge, both stalwart and garish, a structure made from brick entirely. In time, there happened along, as is frequently the scenario in classic tale of protagonist piglet or red-hooded child, a wolf. Carnivorous nature in full season, he cried out to the straw-ensconced swine, saying, Pray thee, little pig, grant me entrance. But the pig numbered first did recall with sage foreboding that it is the madman who trusts in the tameness of the belly-pinched wolf. His reply in earnest, Nay, it shall not be, not by wit nor whiskered jowl. To this most, predictable response, the wolf replied immediately, Then steal thyself, little pig. Post haste shall I endeavor, employing means both huffing and puffing, to dismantle thy flaxen fortress. Whereupon the wolf did billow forth an exhale of gale force, which rendered straw hovel to dregs and dross, and carried aloft Piglet, and shattered quarters both. Exposed now to claw and fang, Piglet one made haste, wolf in pursuit, to the stick-festooned sanctum of Peccary's secondary. Well, this nuts my knickers. Nowhere among these actions most considerate or amendable is the marshalling of feral wolf to my doorstep. Well, apologies, but it appears that the beast's baneful breath indeed purged me of home and sound judgment alike. The mighty maelstrom of the wolf's torrential exhale splintered the second swine's shack and cut short his scolding simultaneously. Lo and behold, stand we now amid wooden wreckage, tremulous and vulnerable, with nary a strategy eschewing the canine devourer looming in deadly proximity. A strategy? While 'tis noble to contemplate tactical particularities, pressed as we are with time restraints forbidding detailed strategical conversation, I would urge we, run? Whether by their own fleet-footed competence or the wolf's windless attitude, the bantam porkers arrived at their ultimate kindred neighbor's inexpugnable brick ingress unscathed. Upon the third pig's door with urgent hooves they pounded, calling out, "Unbar this entrance and with haste! We beseech thee!" The third pig hailed from the American colonies, and, possessing a vocabulary substantially less robust than his impromptu visitors, replied, "Say what?" "Seek we sanctuary," they implored, on the verge of hysteria, "lest we fall forthwith to the ravenous appetency of yonder approaching carnivore." Still confounded by their importunate words, the pig three did render ajar his portal, whereupon one and two spilled forth and collapsed to be on the threshold enervated. "So, y'all just wanted to come in?" "You could have just said that." The hiss of the wolf could again be heard externally. "Pretty little pigs, grant me entrance." "The wolf," said two. "A wolf? Well, what you suppose he wants?" "He seeks to gain purchase within. Indeed, he would occupy this very alcove where he but afforded the most meager of opportunities." Right. I'm just going to go ask him what he wants. "Under no circumstances there is not to be gained accosting an external opponent save our own immediate demise." "What did you say about my mama?" House and occupants were again engulfed in the malevolent blast of wolfish wind. The foundation shook, the frame rattled, and lo, to the astonished eyes of piglets and encroaching scoundrel alike, stood the third pig's lodging undaunted. Aghast and befuddled, two queried of three, "How does, against such relentless and torrential onslaught, this domicile endure?" The pig three puffed out chest, tapped a hoof to the hearth, and responded, "It's American made."
Morgenstern's classic fairy tale, The Princess Bride, has captured audiences for years. In this scene, we find our hero Wesley has been killed by the prince, our heroine Buttercup's fiancé. Miracle Max now makes his appearance as Inigo, an accomplished swordsman, and Fezzik, the giant, implore Max to bring Wesley back to the living.
The knocking started on that door. Max almost did.
Go away.
He almost said. Because lately, it had only been kids come to mock. Except it was almost midnight. Besides, the knocking was both loud and very tacky, as if the brain were saying to the fist.
Hurry it up, I want to see a little action.
So Max opened the door.
I don't know you.
Aren't you Miracle Max who worked all those years for the king?
I got fired, didn't you hear? That's a painful subject. You shouldn't have brought it up. Good night, and next time, learn a little manners. Get away, I'm telling you, or I'll call the Brute Squad.
I'm on the Brute Squad. We need a miracle. It's very important.
I'm retired. Anyway, you wouldn't want someone who the king got rid of, would you? I might kill whoever you want me to miracle.
He's already dead.
Yes, huh? I'm gonna dead.
Please.
Bring him in. I'm making no promises.
So this huge guy and this skinny guy brought in this big guy and put him on the floor. Max poked the corpse.
Not so stiff as some.
We have money.
Then go get some great genius specialist, why don't you? Why waste your time with me, a guy who the king fired?
You were a wonderful miracle man. It was the politics that got you fired.
Don't insult me and say wonderful. I was great. I am great. There was never you hear me, a miracle man that could match me. Half the techniques I invented. And then they fired me.
Oh, sir, please sit down.
Don't sir me, Sonny. I was feeding my witch when you came in. I've got to go finish that now.
Max lifted the trapdoor and took the ladder down into the cellar, locking the trapdoor behind him. When that was done, he pressed his finger to his lips and turned to the old woman holding hot chocolate over the coals.
Listen. Upstairs, you will never guess what I got. Giant and a spick.
A giant on a stick.
Spick. A Spanish fella, scars and everything. A very tough cookie.
Let them steal what they want. What do we have worth
They
fighting
don't
over?
want to steal. They want to buy. Me. They got a corpse up there and, well, they want a miracle.
You were always good at dead. Why not take the case?
Suppose I did. They'd probably try and get out without paying. How can I force a giant to pay if he doesn't want to?
Get the money in advance. If they say no, out with them. If they say yes, bring the money down to me. I'll feed it to the frog. They'll never find it, even if they change their mind and try to rob it back.
Well, I haven't done a miracle in, 3 years? Well, prices may have skyrocketed. 50, you think? If they've got 50, I'll consider. If not, out they go.
Right.
As soon as Max had shut the trapdoor, he clambered up the ladder and pressed her ear to the ceiling.
Sir, we're in a terrible rush.
Don't try to hurry me, Sonny. You try hurrying a miracle man, you get rotten miracles. Is that what you want?
You'll do it then?
I didn't say I'd do it, Sonny. Don't try pressuring me. Try pressuring a miracle man, out you go. By the way, how much money you got?
Give me your money, Fezzik. Here's all I've got. You counted. Here you go. 65 is what we've got.
I've never worked for so little in my life. You got to be joking.
Valerie hurried back to the coals and waited for Max to join her.
It's no good. They only got, 20.
She knew the truth, but dreaded having to. So she tried another tack.
We're practically out of chocolate powder. 20 could sure be help.
No chocolate powder?
Maybe if it was for a good cause, you could lower yourself to work for 20. Find out why they need the miracle.
They'd probably lie.
Look, I would hate to have it on my conscience if we didn't do miracle when nice people are involved.
You're a pushy lady. Okay, what's so special that I bring back this particular fella?
He's got the wife and he's got 15 kids.
They haven't a shred of food, and if he stays dead, they'll starve.
Oh, Sonny, are you a liar? I'll ask him.
He's a corpse. He can't talk.
We've got our ways. You see, there's different types of death. There's sort of dead. There's mostly dead. Yeah, well, and then there's just all dead. This fella here, he is only sort of dead, which means that there's still a memory inside. You apply a little pressure here, and sometimes you get results.
What are you doing?
Never mind, I'm just filling his lungs. Guarantee you, it ain't hurting him. What's so important? What's worth coming back for? What you got waiting for you?
True love! True love, you heard him. That's what he wants to come back for. That's certainly a worthwhile reason.
Sonny, don't tell me what's worthwhile. True love is the best thing in the world. Except for cough drops. But everybody knows that.
Then you'll save him?
Yes, absolutely. I would save him if he had said true love. But you misheard. What your friend here said was to bluff, which means to bluff. So obviously, he was involved in some shady business and wanted to win. And that most definitely is not a reason for it. Huh? I'm sorry, but I never change my mind once it's made up, so goodbye. And take your corpse with you.
Liar! Liar!
Back, witch!
I'm not a witch, I'm your wife. But after what you just said, I'm not sure I want to be that anymore. He said true love, Max. Even I could hear it. True love.
Don't go on.
He's rejecting you because he's afraid. He's afraid he's done. The miracles are gone from his once majestic
It's
fingers.
not true.
You're right. It isn't true. They were never majestic. Max, you were never any good.
The ticklish cure. You were there. You saw.
A fluke.
All the drowners I returned.
Chance.
Valerie, we've been married 80 years. How can you do this to me?
Because true love is expiring, and you haven't got the decency to tell why you don't help. Well, I do. Prince Humperdinck was right to fire you.
Don't say that name.
Prince Humperdinck, at least he knows a phony when he sees one.
Max fled through the trapdoor, his hands going to his ears.
But this is his fiance's true love. If you bring him back to life, he'll stop Prince Humperdinck's marriage.
Wait, this corpse here? He comes back and Prince Humperdinck suffers?
Humiliations galore.
Now that is what I call a worthwhile reason. Give me the 65. I'm on the case.
What?
While you were doing all that talking up there, he slipped from sort of dead to mostly dead.
You'll have to work around that.
Max started looking through. Valerie turned toward Inigo and Pheasant.
You can help.
Anything!
Well, how long does the miracle have to work? If we work,
When we work it,
how long does it have to work? Just what exactly is going to be done?
Well, that's hard to predict, since the first thing we have to do is storm the castle, and you never really can be sure how those things work out.
An hour pill should be about right. Either it'll be plenty or you'll both be dead. So why not say an hour?
Several hours later. 13 to be precise. 2 hours before.
You mean that? That's it?
that's it.
Beautiful. What did you think a resurrection pill looked like?
Look like a lump of clay the size of a golf ball. It'll work without a hitch.
Max nodded firmly. He did not smile. There was something in the back of his mind bothering him. He never forgot important things. He just didn't remember this time.
At 5 o'clock, Max and Valerie were in the basement sipping coffee.
Just remember something about the pill.
It was a beautiful pill, honey. Feel proud.
I think I messed up the amounts. Didn't they want an hour? When I double the recipe, I don't think I did enough. I don't think it'll work over 40 minutes.
Let's be honest. You were 3 years out of practice. 40 will be plenty.
I suppose you're right. After all, what can we do about it? Down is down.
The pressures you've been under, if it works at all, it'll be a miracle.
A phantasmagoria.
General Douglas MacArthur, Sylvanus Thayer, or Warwick Acceptance Address at West Point. Duty, honor, country. Those three hollowed words reverently dictate what you ought to be, what you can be, what you will be. The unbelievers will say, they're but words, but a flamboyant phrase. Every demagogue, every cynic, every hypocrite, every troublemaker will try to downgrade them, even to the extent of mockery and ridicule. But here are some of the things they do. They build your basic character. They mold you for your future roles as the custodians of the nation's defense. They make you strong enough to know when you are weak, and brave enough to face yourself when you are afraid. Make you strong. They teach you to be proud and unbending in honest failure, but humble and gentle in success. Not substitute words for actions, not to seek the path of comfort, but to face the stress and spurs of difficulty and challenge, to learn to stand up in the storm, but to have compassion on those who fall, to master yourself before you seek to master others, to have a heart that is clean, a goal that is high, to learn to laugh, yet never forget how to weep, to reach into the future, yet never to neglect the past, to be serious, yet never to take yourself too seriously. Be modest so that you will remember the simplicity of true greatness, the open mind of true wisdom, the meekness of true strength. They teach you in this way to be an officer and a gentleman. And what sort of soldiers are those you are to lead? Their story is known to all of you. It is a story of the American men-at-arms. I regarded him then as I regard him now, as one of the world's noblest figures. His name and fame are the birthright of every American citizen. In his youth and strength, his love and loyalty, he gave all that mortality can give. He needs no eulogy from me. He has written his own history and written it in red on his enemy's breast. But when I think of his patience under adversity, of his courage under fire, and of his modesty in victory, I'm filled with admiration. He belongs to history as one of the greatest examples of successful patriotism. I do not know the dignity of their birth, but I do know the glory of their death. They died unquestioning, uncomplaining, with faith in their hearts and on their lips the hope that we would go on to victory. Always for them, duty, honor, country. Always their blood and sweat and tears as we sought the way and the truth and the light. And 20 years after, on the other side of the globe, again, the filth of murky foxholes, the stench of ghostly trenches, the slime of dripping dugouts, those boiling suns of relentless heat, those torrential rains of devastating storms, the loneliness and utter desolation of jungle trails, the bitterness of long separation from those they loved and cherished, the deadly pestilence of tropical disease, the horror of stricken areas of war, their resolute and determined defense, their swift and sure attack, their indomitable purpose, their complete and decisive victory. Always victory. The vision of gaunt, ghastly men reverently following your password of duty, honor, country. The code which these words perpetuate will embrace the highest moral laws and will stand the test of any ethics or philosophies. The soldier, above all other men, is required to practice the greatest act of religious training, sacrifice. Everything else in your professional career is but corollary to this vital dedication. Yours is the profession of arms, sure knowledge that in war there is no substitute for victory, that if you were to lose, the nation would be destroyed, that the very obsession of your public service must be duty, honor, country. You stand as the nation's war guardian, as gladiator in the arena of battle. For a century and a half, you have defended, guarded, and protected its hollow traditions of liberty and freedom, of right and justice, duty, honor, country. You're the leaven which binds together the entire fabric of our national system of defense. From your ranks comes the great captains who hold the nation's destiny in their hands. The long gray line has never failed us, where you to do so, a million ghosts in olive drab, in brown khaki, in blue and gray would rise from the white crosses, thundering those magic words: duty, honor, country. The shadows are lengthening for me. Twilight is here. My days of old have vanished. I listen vainly, but with thirsty ears, for the melody of faint bugles blowing, of the far drum beating the long roll. That in my dreams again I hear the clash of guns, the rattle of musketry, the mournful mutter of the battlefield. But in my dream, yet in the evening of my memory, always I come back to West Point. Always there, echoes and re-echoes, duty, honor, country.
Didn't my Lord deliver Daniel, deliver Daniel, deliver Daniel? Didn't my Lord deliver Daniel? And why not every man? He delivered Daniel from the lion's den, Jonah from the belly of the whale, and the Hebrew children from the fiery furnace. And why not every man? Didn't my Lord deliver Daniel, deliver Daniel, deliver Daniel? Didn't my Lord deliver Daniel? And why not every man? The wind blow east and the wind blow west, it blows like the judgment day. And every poor soul that never did pray would be glad to pray that day. Didn't my Lord deliver Daniel, deliver Daniel, deliver Daniel? Didn't my Lord deliver Daniel? And why not every man? I set my foot on the gospel ship. The ship, it began to sail. It landed me over on Canaan's shore, and I'll never come back anymore. My Lord delivered Daniel, he delivered Daniel, he delivered Daniel. Didn't my Lord deliver Daniel? And why not every man?
In Cheaper by the Dozen, by Frank B. Gilbreth Jr. and Ernestine Gilbreth Carey, Frank Gilbreth and his wife Lillian have a dozen children. With Dad Gilbreth's quirky sense of humor and Mom Gilbreth's intuition, many comical events occur in the Gilbreth household of 12 children. An excerpt from Cheaper by the Dozen by Frank B. Gilbreth and Ernestine Gilbreth Carey. Some people used to say Dad had so many children, he couldn't keep track of them. Dad himself used to tell a story about one time when Mother went off to fill a lecture engagement and left him in charge at home. When Mother returned, she asked him if everything had run smoothly. Didn't have any trouble, except for that one over there. But a spanking brought him in the line. That's not one of ours, dear. He belongs next door. None of us remember it, and maybe it never happened. When Dad decided he wanted to take the family for an outing, he'd ask, "How many want to go for a ride?" The question was purely rhetorical, for when Dad rode, everybody rode. Dad's driving was fraught with peril. There was a strange fascination in its brushes with death and its dramatic traffic stopping scenes. As long as we were still in town and Dad wasn't driving too fast, Mother seemed to enjoy the ride. Her ears were straining toward the sounds in the back seats to make sure that everything was going all right. She had plenty to worry about, too. The more cramped we became, the more noise we'd make. "What's the matter back there?" Dad bellowed to Anne. "I thought I told you to keep everybody quiet." "That would require an act of God," Anne would reply bitterly. "Well, you're going to think God is acting if you don't keep it quiet back there. I said quiet and I want quiet." "I'm trying, Dad, but no one will listen to me. I don't want excuses. I want order. You're the oldest from now on, and I don't want to hear a single sound from back there. Do you all want to walk home?" By this time, Most of us did, but no one dared say so. Things would quiet down for a while, but there'd be trouble again, and we'd feel pinches and kicks. Cut it out, Ernestine. You sneak. You take up all the room. Why don't you move over? I wish you'd stayed home. You know, Ash, half as much as I do. We made quite a sight, rolling along in the car with the top down. This was the part that Dad liked the best of all. I seen 11 of them, not counting the man and the woman, some would shout from the sidewalk. You missed the second baby up front here, mister, Dad would call over his shoulder. Mother would make believe she hadn't heard anything and look straight ahead. How do you grow them carrot tops, brother? Oh, these aren't so much. You should have seen the ones I left at home. How do you feed all them kids, mister? Dad would ponder for a moment. Well, they come cheaper by the dozen, you know. This line was designed to bring down the house, and usually it did. Once, when we were stopped at a traffic sign, and the usual crowd was beginning to collect, a lady near the curb said, "My, would you look at those poor, adorable little children? Don't they look so sweet in their uniforms?" Dad was all set to go into a new act, the benevolent superintendent, taking the little orphan tykes out for a ride. Why, bless my soul and body. But for once, Mother exploded. That is the last straw. This was something new, and Dad was scared. What's the matter, Lily? What's the matter, Lily? Speak to me, girl. Someone has just mistaken us for an orphanage. Oh, that! Wasn't it a scream? No, it wasn't. I just don't understand. It's the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. An orphanage on wheels and me, the superintendent. Not humorous. Let's get out of here. As we passed through the outskirts of Hartford, Dad was subdued and repentant, perhaps a little frightened. I didn't mean any harm, Lily. Of course you didn't, dear. And there's no harm done. Dad would use that same cheaper by the dozen line whenever we stopped at a toll bridge. Do my Irishmen come cheaper by the dozen? He'd ask the man at the toll gate. Dad could take one look at a man and know his nationality. Ah! Irishman, is it? And I mightn't have known it. The Lord didn't mean for any family like that to pay toll on my road. Drive through on the house. After a picnic for family delicacy, Dad coined two synonyms for going to the bathroom in the woods. One was visiting Mrs. Murphy, and the other was examining the rear tire. They meant the same thing. He'd say, "How many have to visit Mrs. Murphy?" And usually nobody would. But after we'd been under our way 10 or 15 minutes, Some would announce that he had to go. So Dad would stop the car, and Mother would take the girls into the woods on one side of the road, while Dad took the boys into the woods on the other. I know every piece of flora and fauna from Bangor, Maine to Washington, D.C., Dad exclaimed bitterly. On the way home, when it was dark, Bill used to crawl up into the swivel seat, right behind Dad. Bill was a perfect mimic, and he'd whisper in Mother's voice, "Not so fast, Frank. Not so fast." Dad would make believe he hadn't heard her. Sometimes Bill would go into the act when the car was creeping along at 30, and Dad finally would turn to Mother disgustedly and say, "For the love of Mike, Lily, I was only doing 20. Dad automatically subtracted 10 miles an hour from the speed limit whenever he discussed the matter with Mom. "I didn't say anything, Frank." Dad would turn around and see all of us giggling, then he'd give Bill a playful cuff and rumple his hair. Secretly, Dad was proud of Bill's imitations. "You'll be the death of me yet, boy." On the way home, when it was dark, Dad used to lean up against the seat, and Mother would snuggle up against him as if she were cold. The babies were sleeping now, and sometimes Mother would turn around to us in between songs and say, "Right now is the happiest time in the world." And perhaps it was.
There is peace in Christ when we learn of Him. Feel the love He felt for us when He bore our sins. Listen to His words, let them come alive. If we know Him as He is, there is peace in Christ. He gives us hope when hope is gone. He gives us strength when we can't go on. He gives us shelter in the storms of life. When there's no peace on earth, there is peace in Christ. Peace in Christ when we walk with Him through the streets of Galilee to Jerusalem. When the broken hearts dry the tear-filled eyes, when we live the way He lived, there is peace in Christ. He gives us hope. He gives us strength when we can't go on. He gives us shelter in the storms of life. When there's no peace on earth, there is peace in Christ. Hope when hope is gone. He gives us strength storms of life. When there's no peace on earth, there is peace in Christ. When there's no peace on earth, there is peace in Christ.
In The Scarlet Pimpernel by Baroness Orczy, French nobility are being executed with the guillotine during the French Revolution. Some aristocrats have escaped due to a mysterious Englishman, Sir Percy Blakeney, alias the Scarlet Pimpernel. Others do not suspect Blakeney due to his silly behavior and various disguises used to hide his identity. During this time, he marries the lovely Marguerite, who, unbeknownst to him, has ignorantly assisted the French in the execution of an aristocratic family. Blakeney disguises his disdain for his wife, but she senses his withdrawal. Later, she discovers his identity, but has unwittingly helped Chauvelin, the French soldier, in his attempts to capture the Scarlet Pimpernel, her husband. The Scarlet Pimpernel by Baroness Orczy. Chauvelin said, "That impudent Scarlet Pimpernel would slip through clumsy fingers. He was here, in this room, 5 minutes ago, having supper at that table. I dared not tackle him alone. That cursed Englishman slipped away." About 5 minutes later, Degas, a French soldier, returned, followed by an elderly Jew. "You know something of the tall Englishman?" "Yes, Your Excellency," replied the Jew. What does Your Excellency wish to know?" "Whether your horse and cart can take me to where I can find my friend." My horse and cart can take Your Honor to where you please." "To a place called the Père Blanchard's hut." I know it, Your Honor." "How soon can your horse and cart be ready?" They are ready now, Your Honor." "Remember, if you have deceived me, 2 of my soldiers shall give you a beating. But if we find the tall Englishman, there will be 10 more pieces of gold for you. Do you accept the bargain?" I accept." "Now listen very attentively, all of you. It is the tall Englishman whom it is your duty to capture. Tonight." The footsteps of Chauvelin and Degas, the shuffling of the old Jew, soon died away along the footpath. Certainly the situation was desperate. A tiny band of men awaiting the arrival of their rescuer, who was unconscious of the trap laid for them all. For the moment, Marguerite could do nothing but follow the soldiers and Chauvelin. She saw nothing, but in her mind's eye, that wooden hut and her husband blindly walking to his doom. On she pressed when suddenly a crevice or a slippery bit of rock threw her to the ground. She struggled to her feet and started running forward. The next instant, a hand dragged at her skirt and she was down on her knees again, while something was wound around her mouth to prevent her from uttering a scream. Chauvelin passed his thin fingers over her face. "The woman, we cannot let her lose, that's certain. Remain on this spot without a sound, for if you scream or move from here, my men will shoot them before your eyes." Chauvelin removed the handkerchief from her mouth. She did not scream. For the moment, she had no strength to do anything but to force herself to think. Think of what she should do. Suddenly, a cheerful, strong voice could be heard singing, "God save the King!" Marguerite heard the click of a gun close to her. No, this cannot be. With a wild shriek, she sprang to her feet and darted round the rock, saw the hut and ran up to it. "Percy, my husband!" One of you stop that woman screaming, Chauvelin hissed. Something was thrown over her face, and she was silent. Chauvelin shouted, "Into it, my men, and let no one escape that hut alive!" Soldiers rushed to the door of the hut, but within all was darkness. "What is the meaning of this?" I think that there was no one there now," replied one of the soldiers. Chauvelin seemed speechless with rage. Within the distance could be heard the splash of half a dozen oars. "Oh, the schooner's boat! Which one of you knows this coast well?" "I do," said one of them. I know every stone of these cliffs." He rushed forward, followed by his comrades. Within moments, their footsteps had died away in the distance. There was no doubt now that once again, that accursed British head had completely outwitted him. How he had contrived to reach the hut without being seen by one of the 30 soldiers who guarded the spot was more than Chauvelin could conceive. The soldiers were holding Marguerite pinioned to the ground. There is no use mounting guard over a woman who is half dead," Chauvelin said to the soldiers. You'd better try and find that footpath again for me, and that cart we left on the road." Then suddenly, a bright idea seemed to strike him. Where's the Jew? Bring that cowardly brute here. You did not fulfill your share of the bargain, but I am ready to fulfill mine. The howls of the Jew behind him undergoing his punishment sent a balm through his heart. "That will do. Leave him there and lead the way to the cart quickly. I'll follow." Marguerite listened to the footsteps of the 4 men. She did not know whether Percy was even now in the hands of the soldiers. Then, suddenly, a sound. She strained every sense to hear. Then, Marguerite heard again, and this time, her heart stood still. "Oh, I wish those fellows had not quite hit so hard. Only one pair of bishops could have uttered those words. Sounds, I am as weak as a rat." Marguerite was on her feet. She heard sounds of good, honest British language. "Percy? Percy, I'm here, come to me. Where are you? Percy? Percy!" "It's all very well calling me, my dear, but God's life I cannot." And still, Marguerite did not understand. There was no one within sight. There was no one within sight, except by that rock. "The Jew!" Marguerite ran up to him, took his head in her hands, looked straight into a pair of blue eyes. "Percy, Percy, my husband, thank God, thank God." "My dear, you'd think you could loosen these ropes." Her fingers were numb and weak, but she worked away with her teeth, while tears poured onto those poor pinioned hands. And laughingly, he took off his disfiguring wig and curls. Then he bent forward and looked searchingly into his wife's blue eyes. "Percy, if you only knew." "I know, dear. Everything. And can you ever forgive?" "I have not to forgive, sweetheart. Your heroism, your devotion, which I so little deserved." They were sitting side by side, and he had rested his aching head on her shoulder. She certainly now deserved the name of the happiest woman in Europe.
I'm just a poor wayfaring stranger, traveling through this world of woe. But there's no sickness, toil, or danger in that bright world to which I go. I'm going there to see my mother. I'm going there no more to roam. I'm just a going over Jordan. I'm just a going over home. I'm just a poor wayfaring stranger, a traveling through this world of woe. But there's no sickness, toil, or danger in that bright world to which I go. I'm going there to see my Father. I'm going there no more to roam. I'm just a poor wayfaring stranger. I'm just a going over home. Going over home.
A few weeks ago, our students were able to compete in district fine arts competition as far as their performances you saw this evening, but as well as academic testing. And so we want to take a moment and recognize all those who were able to place in the district academic testing by reading off their awards that they were able to place. Many of these that are going to be listed off tonight will be also have already competed, I should say, in the state competition. And then several that are in the high school may have the opportunity when we get the final results in to compete in nationals as well. What I ask for you to do, so we can do this very quickly, but also be able to give the recognition that's due, we'll read off the elementary, and then we'll read off middle school and high school. Please clap in between, all right? Not after every child. There's a lot of kids that competed. And so when I call your name, I'm going to come off to the side here. You can come up, and Mr. Rank is going to hand you your awards. I'll read off what those awards are at this moment. Eliane Devine received third place, third grade math, second place, third grade science. Eliane Devine. Alvin Hun, first place, fourth grade grammar, second place, fourth grade math, second place, fourth grade science, and third place, fourth grade social studies. Kinsey Norton, second place for fifth grade Old Testament Bible. Levi Reese, second place, fifth grade creative writing. These are elementary awards. In middle school, we had several compete. Bentley Boyd, second place, sixth grade creative writing. First place, sixth grade New Testament Bible. Third place, sixth grade Old Testament Bible. And first place, sixth grade social studies. Samantha Dodge, first place, sixth grade creative writing. Jalen Hun, second place, sixth grade grammar. Brooke Lacomiak, third place, sixth grade grammar. Third place, sixth grade New Testament Bible. Third place, sixth grade science, and third place, sixth grade social studies. Bentley Sneed, first place, sixth grade math, and first place, sixth grade science. Cole Sneed, third place, seventh grade New Testament Bible. Second place, seventh grade Old Testament Bible. And second place, seventh grade science. Cole Sneed. Levi Petty, received third place in 8th grade creative writing, first place in 8th grade history and geography, and first place in 8th grade Old Testament Bible. Seth Perez, sorry, we have several more middle school. Seth Perez received second place, second page, sorry, you know how that goes. Seth Perez, second place, 8th grade English, third place, 8th grade history and geography, second place, 8th grade math, and first place in 8th grade science. John Thomas Acuff, first place, 8th grade history and geography, and Isaac Johnson, second place, 8th grade science. These are our middle school competitors who won awards. We'll go ahead and let our elementary and middle school go down. That way we can make sure we have space for the high school. So elementary and middle school, go ahead and smile for a picture. Look right there. Oh, yeah. Everybody smile. Look pretty. Look, gentlemen, look handsome. Don't look pretty. Okay, thank you. All right, you guys can go and head down and head back to your seats. In the high school division, oh, yeah, you can clap again. Go ahead. Yeah, we'll go ahead. Be all right. We had 4 that placed in our high school division. John Robert Barton received first place in high school United States history and geography, as well as first place in high school Old Testament Bible knowledge. Tanner Harrell received first place in creative writing, while Daniel Johnson received third place in high school Algebra 2, third place in high school U.S. history and geography, and third place in high school New Testament Bible. Josie Schaefer as well placed third place in high school creative writing. These are our high school winners. We have one final performance tonight. We have a high school large ensemble. I want to appreciate all y'all coming out tonight. I know Pastor will say a word at the very end. Enjoy this final piece tonight.
is one group of students who we didn't recognize in the service, but they were recognized in the lobby. We had several who entered art projects, and I'd like all those who have art projects in the lobby to please stand, if you would, at this time. If you're in the choir or if you're in the auditorium, let's give these young people also a round of applause. Thank you. You all can be seated on your way out. I encourage you, if you didn't have time to look at the art projects, stop by on your way out and look at those. We're very proud of our students this year, not including our academic awards that you saw tonight. 22 of those who did speeches and singing and preaching and other events like that, 22 of those placed first in our district, which we're excited about. 44 of those advanced to state, which means they placed in the top two. So we had another 22 that placed second. They'll be competing 2 weeks from today in Murfreesboro on Thursday and Friday of that week. So be praying for these students as they go, and let's be an encouragement to them over the next couple of weeks and let them know what a great job they did tonight. So let's give all the students one more round of applause for a great job tonight. And then obviously, we always take time during this time to recognize the efforts of those who helped them to perform tonight. Hours and hours and hours of work, obviously by the parents first and foremost, but secondly, by 4 of our staff members who put a lot of time and effort into that. And I appreciate them so much and the work that they put in the areas that you saw tonight. Miss Becky Anderson puts all the effort into all of our speeches. Appreciate her work with those. Miss Maddie Harrell works with our elementary with their speeches and the group that you saw there tonight. She works with them. Then Kyle and Kenzie Harrell work with all of our music. Kenzie plays, Kyle directs that, works with those young people for months to get ready for these competitions, still working to get ready for state, and Lord willing, some of them for national competition. So let's give these 4 staff members a round of applause as well. Be sure you let them know how much you appreciate them tonight and how thankful you are for the work and effort that went into this program. You only saw just a fraction. I believe I counted something like 17 that they did tonight, but there's 44 different things that will be competing 2 weeks from today. So you just saw a fraction of all the work and the effort that has went in, plus those who competed in District Fine Arts that also got 3rd and 4th place as well. So I'm thankful for a school that loves athletics, but also focuses on fine arts, and I appreciate that. Appreciate you giving time and effort to help these students memorize, learn, prepare, and plan for this. So we're excited about this portion of our school. We're thankful for it and appreciate you being here tonight to take part in it. Let me invite you, if you would, if you don't have a home church on Sunday, we're having Family Sunday here in our church, a special day. Becky's dad, Miss Anderson's dad, will be with us all day that day preaching. He's a pastor in Georgia. We're excited to have him with us on that day, Pastor Doug Anderson. We'll be having one combined service at 10:30 that morning right here in the auditorium on Sunday, followed by a family picnic. We were going to do it at the camp, but the weather's not appreciated our efforts. So we're moving that to the fellowship hall. We're going to be having that in the fellowship hall following the morning service. So if you do not have a church home, we'd love for you to visit us this Sunday, have an opportunity to hear Miss Anderson's dad preach, and have a wonderful time together. That'll begin at 10:30 right here in the auditorium. We appreciate, again, you allowing us to invest in your students, and I pray that you received a blessing and encouragement from tonight. Let's stand, and we'll dismiss in prayer, and I know a lot of you want to take pictures, those kind of things. You can do that following this prayer of dismissal. Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, we're thankful tonight for all the work and effort that went into this program tonight. We're thankful for the discipline and the memorization and all that took place over the last few months to prepare not only for tonight, but especially for the competition in 2 weeks. I pray, first of all, you give a safe travel over and back. I pray that you'd help every student to perform their very best. And I pray that they could leave there knowing that they glorified you in it and did their very best that they could possibly do. Lord, we pray that you just bless our families that are involved in our school. We just thank you for just the opportunity we have to work together, Lord, to not only work on the academics and athletics, but also the spiritual character of these young people. Lord, we just pray you just give us your wisdom, your vision for our school, for our future, for all that we're doing. May we glorify and honor you in it. Thank you for every family that's represented here. Pray that you'd encourage them for the time that we spent together tonight. In Jesus' precious name we pray. Amen. Amen. Thank you. You are dismissed.